Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and guess what? I just got done taking my son to get them to do needling on his arm. Apparently this is a pitcher thing where these kids get, when they have, he's had like an impingement on his shoulder, which is like I think it's an irritation of your tendon or your muscle or something like that. Anyway. He had to do needling, and they put a needle in there, and I was kind of surprised how far the needles go. It's like a ½ inch. And then they give it an electrical pulse to kind of loosen your muscles in there, and it's supposed to relieve a lot of that stuff. But anyway, pretty wild. I actually took some pictures of them doing it to his arm. Anyway, it was kind of neat. I had never seen that done before. You don't have any major problem. But anyway, a funny thing happened today. The crypto markets began to take off. The crypto market has jumped back up to 2.5 trillion. I'm going to show you why. Bitcoin has bumped up over 70,000. Ethereum has gone nuts. I'm about to show you why. XRP has started doing its thing as well. And it all came out of nowhere. And I think I know why. First, let me show you this. From Wheezy, giant whale accumulates 361.6 million XRP. Ripple moves out 50 million XRP. Now, what is it that caused the market to move? I believe that something's going on, folks. And if you look at it, remember last week, Ryan Selkis comes out of nowhere and he's sitting there with Trump, and Trump is capitalizing on the lunacy that's going on the left with Operation Choke Point 2.0. You've got it's being run by Elizabeth Warren. Think about what you have going on. Ryan Selkis endorsed Trump and Trump announces he's pro-crypto. You got John Deaton running against Senator Elizabeth Warren. You got Senator Elizabeth Warren heading up the anti-crypto army and all that. And she's the one directing White House's Operation Choke Point 2.0. And Gary Gensler is her little gimp, okay? Or toady, whatever you want to call him. Gary's getting his butt handed to him in court every time he goes. That's blown up in their face. Elizabeth Warren has someone running against her now. That's blown up in their face. Congress is now coming in and starting to pass different last week they passed the SOB 121 or whatever it was called. This week, just now, today, U.S. House passes Blockchain Act, massive majority, okay? Then this comes out. You can tell that there's a political shift going on, folks. These people, it's like we've been saying, it's crazy. It's like they're doing the exact opposite of what you would do if you were worried about getting reelected. And the indications here are that maybe they are starting to worry about being reelected. Look at this update. This is from the James Seifert guy. And are increasing our odds of a spot Ethereum ETF approval to 75%, up from 25%. Hearing chatter this afternoon that the SEC could be doing a 180 on this increasingly political issue. So now everyone is scrambling. Like us, everyone else assumed they'd be denied. See Nate's tweet below for probably order of events. But again, we are capping at 75% until we see more. And then he says SEC decision deadline this week on spot ETFs. SEC must approve both 19B 4S exchange rule changes, S1s, for ETFs to launch. Then CoinDesk came in. Ethereum is up more than 10% after Bloomberg's Eric Balkanus and James Seifert lifted their odds on the spot Bitcoin ETF. So that's what caused the price to shoot. Then Eleanor Tarrant came in, new, an issuer source tells me regarding the spot ETH ETF development, things are evolving in real time. She's got a 200% odds increase from Bloomberg on the SEC approving the spot Ethereum ETF. So she's got an issuer source saying that the spot Ethereum, that things are evolving in real time. That is very interesting. And then in the midst of all of that, you got Jamie Dimon, who, remember, Elizabeth Warren and Jamie Dimon were on the same team, the anti-crypto army. And all of a sudden, Jamie Dimon is hinting that he's preparing to retire as CEO. And wouldn't that be the perfect time for him to retire if he sees the writing on the wall that he's about to lose the crypto fight? Wouldn't that make a lot of sense? I mean, wow, folks. And then here, Tether now owns more U.S. Treasuries than Germany, moving to number 19. Tether now ranks 19th in the world for holding U.S. Treasury bonds with $91 billion worth as of March 31st. Now, folks, the founding of Tether is one of the shadiest stories you will ever hear in your life. In fact, Brad Combs told me that he saw Brock Pierce, who's one of the Tether founders, at the DC blockchain thing he went to last week. So this guy's accepted into DC, I think, for a reason. I think the government either helped in the create or commissioned Tether being created to prop up the Treasury market, or once Tether had been created, they went in and basically took the controls and directed those people to do what they've been doing. But I do believe they should start calling it US-backed Tether, because that's exactly what it is in my mind. Now, I was watching, they're having the SALT conference up in, I believe it's in New York, and you'll never guess who was on stage right beside Robbie Mitchnick, who was an ex-Rippler, who is now the head of digital assets at BlackRock and never will speak of XRP or Ripple. He's sitting beside the ex-Ripple board member, Zoe Cruz.
Of American adults holding some exposure to Bitcoin or crypto, obviously it was a fraction of that for institutions. And a big driver of that was historically there were enormous frictions for institutions to be able to hold directly. And now I think that's why the ETFs have been such a game changer, because they've brought that to a level of parity where you have, for the first time, efficient, turnkey, low-cost exposure vehicles. And so we're starting to see the journey that institutions now go on as a result.
Lauren?
I think we talked a lot on this panel about the trend
of American adults.
Okay, now here's what's interesting, is that this guy brought to my attention, let me see if I follow this person. I do not, but I do now. He brought to my attention a post on LinkedIn by Zoe Cruz a couple of weeks ago. I went and found it. Here it is. She's responding. Remember when they put out a couple of weeks ago, Forbes did the good for nothing blockchains list, and we covered this and talked about what FUD it was. Look at what she says in response to that ad. Decentralized finance is in its infancy and represents a Cambrian explosion of, that's a Chris Larson line, a Cambrian explosion of activity. Although it is way too early to call winners and losers, this disruptive technology will change many business models for the better. If I were a journalist, I would be less categorical than that headline proclaims so loudly. Since XRP and Ripple is at the top of the list, I will begin with this token and add 3 other tokens that point to real use case with a real need for innovation. Just like with social media, MySpace had a 90% market share, Facebook 5%. We all know how that movie ended. I think we know how this movie ends too. So this post is not an attempt to point out our current or future winners, although, to be transparent, some of the tokens on this list are in our Menai funds. The below comments are more constructive. Look at them. XRP cheap, near instant cross-border payments, an attempted improvement on the multi-decade-old correspondent banking SWIFT messaging system. So she's not buying what they're selling in that Forbes article. Then I wanted to play you this. This is senior project manager at Betso.
Cross-border payments is a huge market. It worth only in 2023, the total payment volume was $190 trillion based on the World Bank. And we have future growth projections of 53%, which will be $290 trillion by the end of this decade, 2030. And why this is important, and just giving you visibility, a big piece of it is wholesale. I will not focus on it, but I want to focus on like B2B payments, e-commerce, B2C, C2B. And today this piece is $44 trillion, and we have an expected growth for 66. I think this is, you cannot see, but the growth projections for B2B e-commerce, it's 120. I think mainly of you face this situation, or C2B, where your customer is from abroad and needs to send you cross-border payments, or B2C. All of these has huge potential of growth, and still it's a huge market.
You got that right. So here's what we're going to talk about in DAIXRP.com today is there's all this talk out of nowhere about an Ethereum ETF. Well, you know what the Holy Grail is the XRP ETF. I'm going to play something about the XRP ETF, and then I'm going to remind you, if you haven't heard yet, I can't remember if I said anything about it or not, something Brad Garlinghouse said to somebody I know about an XRP ETF, and I'm going to talk about that in the group. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that away we go.